if you do not learn that lesson, you will remain in that position for a very long time. So if you find yourself in a tight spot, don't go into a room and cry. Don't have a pity party. Rationalize with yourself that, okay, I am in this situation. There is a lesson I need to learn. What is that lesson? Learn it and move on. Tests and trials will always come through human beings. When you find yourself in a job, in school, in the marketplace, when you hear about people quitting their jobs or people having a mental breakdown, if you really look at the circumstance, it was because another human being was doing what they weren't supposed to do, and it was aggravating somebody else. So if you have yourself in a situation where people are aggravating you, the first thing you need to determine is you should not let that circumstance or the people in it change your character. May I suggest to you, it is not the easiest thing to do. You know, I have found myself in situations where, you know, people would annoy you, people would aggravate you. And, you know, in Nigeria, the typical thing you do is you go into your closet, you start praying, fire of God, kill this person, fire of God, kill that person. What if God sends that person to training? So if you find yourself in a very tight position, and those tight positions usually come through human beings, do not use that human being as your target. Do not have them become the dart thing where you throw the dart at and you just destroy them. Figure out what the lesson is this person is being used to teach you. And in that tight situation, never lose your character. I would like to suggest that the reason why Nigeria is currently in the way it is in is because people have been pushed up against the wall. People have found themselves in a tight situation. And everybody is thinking that this person is better than me, so I'm going to steal from this person, I'm going to steal from that person. May I suggest to you that even the rich are struggling in their richness. And so when we begin to loot each other, it becomes, you know, a fighting pit. It's like the crabs in the bucket all fighting each other to get out. So if we think we want to get out of the situation we find ourselves in this country called Nigeria, and I know I'm not there on the ground, but whatever happens there affects me. You know, we have to get to the point where we become our brother's keeper. We need to go back to basics. We need to leave what we have been taught by the West. You know, when I think about colonialism, I wouldn't suggest that Nigeria was brilliant before colonialism, but we did have some measure of order. We did have a measure where, you know, adults respected children, children respected adults. In our current state of affairs, we don't have any of that. The adults have let down the children don't respect the adults, and now we have a vicious circle, and we're not moving forward. So may I suggest to each and every one of us here, as the youth, you guys are the leaders of tomorrow. You guys have the strength to make the change. May I suggest to you that we start to become our brother's keeper. We don't just say, you know, me, myself, and I, because we're doing that right now and none of us is winning. Can we take a step back and begin to look at how do we stand together as one? I've lost my slides. Okay, so secret number 2 is, even though bad things happen to good people, we shouldn't let those bad situations change who we really are. When you find yourself in a tight spot, do not look to change your character because of your circumstance. Rather, let that circumstance sharpen who you really are so that the true you comes out. And it is in that tight spot that your purpose is birthed. So sometimes in fact, every time you find yourself in a tight situation, I think you need to start singing praises because it means you're going to the next level. The tight spot will bring out the gold in you. Secret number 3, please. Secret number 3, I've titled isolation. Isolation is not always a bad thing. And some of you will be like, what is she saying? I'm talking from my own experience. So if I want to give you a story, I mentioned previously that approximately 8 years ago, I quit my fancy life in Switzerland, sold the house, gave up everything, and moved, changed countries even. Started at ground zero. I moved to a country where I knew nobody. And, initially when I I didn't make the decision to leave. Actually, I was told to leave 5 years ago and I didn't listen. Let me just be real now. So when it became crucial, January 10th, I think it was 2016, it was as though somebody was talking to me. I heard the voice saying, you need to leave now. And all of a sudden, this fancy house that I had built with all the gadgets in it and everything was looking funny, I didn't feel like being there anymore. And all of my friends were like, oh, your beautiful kitchen, you're excellent this and excellent that. But I lost interest in it. It didn't mean anything anymore. I had received instruction and I needed to move. And in the period of moving, I went into isolation for approximately 4 years. I moved to a different country. I had to figure out where to live. I had to build life from scratch in a country where, okay, I speak some German at the time, but I wasn't as fluent as I am now. And so, when you are in isolation, sometimes you need to be grateful for isolation because isolation removes the noise. It gives you time to focus and find yourself. When you are in isolation, it's usually a place of preparation for your next level. It's the place where you get rid of all the excess baggage, if you like. And then only that which is supposed to take you to your next level manifests. So separation from all of the luggage usually comes before you are endorsed to do what you were called to do. For those of you who are Christian, or even in the Muslim book, my grandmother is Muslim. So, when Abraham had to leave a place and he had to leave his nephew Lot and go into someplace else, there were issues between them. But at some point, he knew that he had to, go one way and the other person go the other way so that they could move forward. So if you find your place in isolation, because everybody has jettisoned what they're doing, everybody has decided to look out for themselves alone and you're alone, sometimes you need to embrace it. Because all the people that follow you when the going is good, they usually disappear when the going is not so good. And suddenly you get rid of excess baggage. So isolation is not a place where you cry and say, my life was beef before. Isolation is a place where you thank God and you say, okay, only that which is necessary is going to move me into the next level. So isolation is a time when you learn, you shed excess baggage. And usually when you're in isolation, you only focus on that which matters. You hear clearly what your purpose is, and then you move towards that purpose. Communion with your maker is key when you're in the time of isolation. If I think about Job in the Bible, when he was going through his stress, he had his friends come in and he said, curse God and die, do this, do that. When you are in isolation, be very careful who you listen to. Be very careful what comes out of your mouth through words. Isolation is not a very easy place to be in, and you can actually speak bitterness. But if you're able, and it's not easy as a human being, you do have some down times when, you crack, but don't stay in the crack too long. Crack, get out of it, and then go back on purpose. So secret number 3 is if you find yourself in a place of isolation, do not despair. Embrace it. Learn whatever it is you need to learn, because it's usually a time of preparation for your next level. Secret number 4. Please. Know what season you were in. So I just talked about isolation, which is when you're in the wilderness, all the people that were jamming with you and, rocking with you when you were high and, having parties and stuff. All of those people disappear. When you're in the wilderness, your character is shaped. The real you comes in. By nature, I'm a very private person. By nature, I don't like a lot of parties. But as the head of accounting in my previous role, you had to be in, super conferences, you had to speak before crowds, you had to do a lot of stuff, and you do a lot of it, and you enjoy it. But when push comes to shove, I really enjoyed my time alone where I get to, replenish myself. So when you're in the wilderness, always know that it is in preparation for your throne. I don't know what you're going through right now, but if you're in a tight spot, I have an error here. A typo, so I apologize for that. So if you find yourself in a tight spot, do not go into a depression. Depression is a silent killer, and it can happen very easily, especially in the nation of Nigeria, where every single step you turn is stress. If you go into a government institution, people that are supposed to do their jobs don't do their jobs, they want a bribe. If they don't get a bribe, they don't deliver. The next person comes along, does the same thing. And that is why our whole infrastructure is broken. Because if the government is not paying people, people figure they need to eat, so they take it out on their neighbor. So all of us are doing that right now. The rich, the poor, the ugly, everybody is doing it right now. How can I rip my brother off to survive? What we fail to see is that when we do that to each other, we eventually destroy all of ourselves. You know, we're in seasons now. I know in situations that my parents are trying to do stuff for people. You know, we send money to help people up. People can't go to school, fine. Okay, come and do a small job for me. Help me work in my poultry farm. Help me work in my farm. Do something productive, because we've learned that if you just send people to school for sending sake, they don't appreciate it. If you give tit for tat, number one, the person doesn't feel like they're being, you know, just sponsored or they're a charity case. They feel like they've done something to get something. And there's always a sense of pride when you do a give and take. In today's society, people are looking to just take and never give. There's a reason why the Bible says it is always better to give than to receive. So for those of us that are now in a situation where we say, me, I just need to collect too. I've already given, nobody gave me, I need to collect. May I suggest to you that it is more blessed to give than to receive. In the workplace, at least in Nigeria, I have several people that say to us, you know, we employ people, the people steal from us. We do this, they do that. So I'm having a lot of Nigerians that start businesses and they refuse to hire Nigerians. They would rather hire somebody from Togo, from Ivory Coast, from the Congo, anybody but Nigeria. Why? Because we figured that we are so smart, all we want to do is steal and rip people off. And so other nations are coming to Nigeria and doing quite well because they've come with an open heart to work. In our case, we're doing the 419s. We're trying to rip each other off. If we want to see change in our society, may I suggest that it starts with each and every one of us. When you're in a season that is tight, watch your words, watch your attitude. And that applies to all of us right now. Nigeria is in a very tight situation. Politically, it's as though we have no laws. But each and every one of us likes to offer words of wisdom. We like to say what we think will be the solution. May I suggest to you that each and every one of us should look at ourselves and figure out, how can I make change? For those of us who are of voting age, may I suggest to you that you need to get your voting card. You need to exercise your right to vote. Don't expect the neighbor to make the change. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. That's between you and what you stand for. But at least exercise the right to vote. Some of the Nigerians living in the countries they live in overseas do not have the right to vote in those countries because they're not citizens. So if you have a right to vote in your country, can't it a privilege and exercise that right to vote? We're all in a season that is very tight, but how we come out of that situation is up to each and every one of us. It's not up to the presidential aspirants. It's up to each and every one of us now and how we exercise that vote. So when you get information, use the information you get wisely. There's a lot of noise on social media. There's a lot of noise from, the political parties and what they seek to do for you. But I would hope that when you get information, that information needs to give you revelation as to what it will do for you in the future. I'm giving you concepts, but all of this will come together at the end. Secret number 5, please. How are we doing with time? Okay. Change your garments. So what does this mean? When you find yourself in a tight spot, and we all do, all of us are in a tight spot right now. We've been conditioned in the way we think. We've been conditioned in the way we act. One of the things we learned from the colonials is, to flaunt, to look our best to the detriment of the others. So I have never understood why one person would live in a mansion and right outside your gate is a ghetto. Personally, I wouldn't want to drive into my house and then see people outside living below the poverty line. It just would not resonate in my spirit. Yet we celebrate that. We live in a society currently where, if I'm doing okay, it doesn't matter what's happening with my brother. I went to a federal government college in Nigeria, and in our group chat, some of my students who live in Abuja were saying, Abuja is fine. The rest of the country can be on fire. It's not our problem. We in Abuja, we are fine. And I thought to myself, well, 30 odd years ago when we were in school, the whole country was fine. Why is it now restricted to Abuja? And then we think we are safe. So what I want to say to you is, in order for us to move to the next level, in order for us to, exceed beyond expectations, in order for Nigeria, because if Nigeria succeeds, all of us succeed, we will need to unlearn what we have learned, me included. I started unlearning, post 45, of all the things I had learned in church, all the things I had learned from, school based on the colonial syllabus we had. I'm having to unlearn and relearn. So if we're going to experience change for the future and exceed beyond our expectations so that we collectively gain as a whole and not just on our own, we will need to change our thinking. We will need to change our limiting beliefs. We need to change ourselves. I suggest to you, okay, I need to mute. May I suggest to you that you will need to change your old paradigms. The old things they thought us will need to go. And I'm not just talking to you, I'm also talking to myself. I'm currently in my 50s and I'm changing some of the things I learned that I thought were gospel because today they just don't work. Some of the things we were thought to divide us and not unite us. So I suggest to you that there is a lot of things we need to unlearn and relearn. You guys are better because one, you're younger. And so your ability, once you know that you have to change something, there's a more reception to changing it. We older folk, it takes determination to say we change. Some of us will say, this old tiger wouldn't change his spot, so let me just be as I am. It doesn't work like that. Each and every one of us has things we need to unlearn. And we need new things to learn in order to propel us to the next way of doing things. So be open to change. Be open to change. Now, for those of us that are very religious, I think we're all familiar with what happened in the country a couple of weeks ago. Religion was not intended to be such that we fight each other. We all look to Dubai. We all look to the Emirates. We all see what they've done with oil. They have oil just like we have oil. The only difference is they have leaders that have used that oil to build their country. Dubai is a Muslim nation. But as a Christian, if I go there, I don't feel put to the side. These people have found a way to live in harmony. Why are Nigerians not doing that? What have we been taught that is dividing us rather than uniting us? So whether you're Christian, Muslim, or other, I want us all to put religion aside and be open to change the way we think, change the way we do things. Let us put energy into what will unite us rather than what would divide us. Every garment that you wear has its time, its place, and its occasion. I'm going to refer a book to you that I would recommend you read because it will really open your eyes into these concepts that I'm giving you. When you get information, that information will be relevant for your strategy to the next level. I am giving you some key secrets that are very top level. I only have a few minutes, so I can't deep dive, but I will give you the opportunity to deep dive for yourselves so that this thing will radically change yourself. So key to number 5 is change your garments, change the way you think, change the way you do things, challenge what you've been taught, see if it's uniting or dividing. If it's dividing, we need to kill it. When we all progress towards achieving a common goal, you find that it is much sweeter than when I succeed and my brother doesn't. So change your garments, change your mindset, change your paradigms. That's another secret to move into the next level. Next slide, please. Pursue destiny. So I'm ending with this one because it takes us back to purpose. When you know what your purpose is, you pursue it with diligence. I'll give you a typical example. When you decide to build a house, you don't wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to have 4 walls, door here, window there, etc. You take time to plan. You sleep on it, you envision, you say, okay, if this is where the sun is coming in, I need the house to be facing this way. You think about the flooring, you think about the windows, you think about the doors, you think about the cupboard, you think about, there's something you keep bringing into your head that brings that vision to materiality, that brings that vision to life. So in your pursuit of destiny, which is always based on the purpose, you have a vision, a plan that you want to follow in order to attain that purpose, in order to attain the destiny that you envisage. So in the pursuit of purpose, don't have too many things on your radar. Don't follow too many mentors. For those of us that like mentors, find one that you can, hold on to and run with the state of time. Of course, take input from everybody, but if you're going to learn a lesson, select one person and follow that one diligently. Don't have too many because confusion comes that way. In the age of social media, there's a lot of information out there. So I would suggest to you that in the pursuit of destiny, don't just do anything that looks right. Every time you come against a crossroads, ask yourself the question, is this in line with my purpose? Is this in line with my destiny? For those of you that, are looking for work or, have job interviews, you have to ask yourself, is this just a job or is it an assignment? If it is an assignment, then it doesn't matter who is annoying you on the job. You will fulfill your assignment, and when that assignment is done, you move on. So for those of you who are starting, I didn't have this advice when I was growing up. If I did, I think my life would have been a lot better than it is. And my life is not bad. Huh? Determine what your assignment is and follow that path. Once you know what that assignment is, come hell or high water, you will stay on the path. Nothing will shake you off of it. When you follow your path, when you follow your purpose, when you follow your destiny, there's a lot of risk because you're not entertaining anything. You don't just go with the wind, but you get a greater reward at the end of it. So in the pursuit of destiny, there's an inner transformation that is going to happen to you. Sometimes that inner transformation means that you need to relocate. And I mentioned to you that, I had to live my fancy life to move to a country I didn't know. I did an Abraham. That's what I tell myself. So, sometimes relocation may not necessarily be upwards. It might be what you think is downwards, but the one who made you has a plan. When I got here, the first 3 years, I was asking God, why am I here? I couldn't understand it. As at last year, I was still asking God, why am I here? But now things are happening that would never have happened if I had remained in Switzerland with my fancy life. So when you are forced to change locations, and the location is not a fancy location that makes your body sweet, don't despair. If you're in purpose, there's always provision in the place of assignment. So always have that new mindset that if God sent me here, he will make provision. He will lead your decisions. He will, direct your habits, your actions and everything. But you need to be dependent on him. Don't go halfway and then say, I'm here now, let me leave God and do what I want to do. Stay in purpose. Constantly seek advice. Let him download his instruction to you. And only then can you succeed. Transformation changes your location. Transformation changes your location. Now, all of this might be a little too principled for you because I haven't really talked about my life per se. But if we move to the next slide, and I need to round up because I need to take questions. Next slide, please. Okay. I had something on there and it's very important that we share that. No, there was something else. So all of the principles that I gave you came out of a book. The book was called Tamar. I did have this book up here. Do we have that picture? Okay, let me see if I have it on my screen. Do I have permission to share my screen?
Yes, go ahead. Let me stop and share.
Give me sharing rights because it's very important
because you have the sharing rights.
Okay, let me see if I can share that slide. Give me a second. Okay, got a very busy screen here. Okay. So, does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so all of the principles that I just gave you came out of this book, Tamar, Destiny Attained Against All the Odds. Now, it's by one of our very own, Olajumoke Adenowo. So she leads the Awesome Treasures Foundation out of Lagos. And I'm on purpose celebrating our own people because there is a lot of wisdom in Nigerians. There is a lot of wisdom in us as a people. It's just that we have bad governments. But if we can turn the table around, people used to fly to Nigeria for medical treatments. And now we don't even have a stable infrastructure. Why? Because we have bad leaders. So you, who are the leaders of tomorrow, in spite of where we find ourselves today, in this so-called no man's land, it's up to you and I to bring about the change. We're not going to sit on our laurels and let the ruling party do what they do. Where we sit in our individual corners, we can bring about change. How? By standing with our brothers next to us. This me, myself, and I mentality needs to go. If we form that Ubuntu community that we used to have as Africans, where my looking after my brother is in my own interest, what we see today will go. One of the predominant problems we have in Nigeria is we've made wealth a god where people are trying to get money at all costs. As a result of this, we start seeing ritual killings. The government has looted the nation's wealth. They've lived excessive lives at the expense of you and I. And rather than us question them and say, you can't do this, we want to join them and blow, I think is the word they use these days. But you know what? Having all the money in the world doesn't give you all the joy. You know, money doesn't buy sleep. So I suggest to each and every one of us to go back to basics, to be our brother's keeper, to determine what is our purpose in the earth. Because if you have that, there is a sense of fulfillment that money cannot buy. I'm going to stop there because I want to take some questions. So I want to recommend this book to you. I think it's available on Amazon. It's a very good investment. Even I've read it maybe 3 or 4 times and it's continuing to bless me. So please take a look at this book because it puts in perspective all of the principles I've just given you. And I only took out 6. There are many more in there. And that's it. That's my presentation done. Any questions?
Hello, thank you so much, Michelle. I wish that you can put in the chat box and appreciate Michelle for the wonderful presentation. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you, sir.
So let me just go through what she shared with us before the question and answer. I appreciate you so much, Michelle, for this wonderful presentation. Is I don't know, very, very, very detailed and practical. Thanks for sharing your own experience with us. And because you started with having purpose, how you left lucrative job, well-paying job, because you are searching for fulfillment, and that we all must actually determine our purpose with fulfillment in mind. And then lead us to understand that things happen to good people, that you are having bad experience or something is not working well, does not mean that you are not good. One thing you need to do is that to reflect, to the third point, isolation, where you need to check up what is happening. You share your experience that you spent almost 4 years in isolation so that you can shed excess baggage, learn, refocus, check up, and seek the face of God. You also mention that we need to know what season we are in. And it's very, very important. I need to sharpen and enjoy that period and refocus and check what we are doing, whether it is actually going to bring fulfillment at the end of the day. Then the point 5, change your garment. Here, we need for us to be open. We need for us to be open to change. We need for us to do self-evaluation and old thinking. We need to check whether we need to change and unlearn and relearn. And then pursue destiny. It's very, very important for everybody to note the need for vision. We need to sharpen our vision. We need to ensure that we understand the place of our assignment and this get form that at the end of the day, where we actually have a lot to showcase and show for our life in terms of our progress, in terms of our achievement, because we have been able to go through all this process. I appreciate you so much, and I believe that 1 or 2 people will be able to speak at the end of this session. So now, let's quickly go straight to the question and answer session. The process is that just raise your hand. Just raise your hand, then you'll be permitted to ask your question. Or you put it into the chat box, and then I will pick it, or teacher herself will pick it there. But the most important thing is for you to raise up your hand will be the very best. Just raise up your hand that you have a question, and then you'll be permitted.
No questions?
And no question? Yes, somebody, Silas Dauda. Just unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Good evening, everyone from here, Nigeria. Thank you, Ma, for all of the insights you shared with us. I just sent you a LinkedIn connection request because I need to follow you and make sure that I kind of follow and learn from you more. My question is in regards to managing the pressures that come with being young and being ambitious and trying to figure out things for yourself, also aligning with your purpose. Personally, for me, I have been in a transition phase where I come from an all science background, but I think that my purpose really is in social development and things that kind of affect people directly. And it's been a bit difficult trying to transit from that background into what I think that is my calling and where I want to be. And, sometimes it's a bit challenging balancing this out, managing how you want to transit, and then also managing the pressure that comes with you already have an existing background. And as a young person, you need to start thinking of a career. But here you are trying to go all over, and sometimes it's difficult for people like us who are young and upcoming because there are no resources that we can start off with compared to people like you who have built something, and you can, I don't know if you have some practical tips that could help my current situation. Thank you.
Yes, I do actually. And I think it's also helpful to not presume that because we are older and have more experience that, navigating change is easy. I'll give you an experience. So all my life I worked in corporate, and I was pretty successful in corporate. So, you know, if you spend 25 years thinking as an employee, when you decide to move into becoming an entrepreneur, it's a whole new mindset. Education does not help you. All right. There's a change that needs to happen that will help you, you know, navigate from being an employee who does what you need to do from the comfort of corporate, because, you know, at the end of the month, you get the salary, versus when you're an entrepreneur and you need to, you know, earn the bucks yourself. So yes, we have, you can say that we have, you know, resources that will tick us over, but it doesn't necessarily help you with the mindset. So in your case, where you say you have one background and you're moving into another, it's not an easy transition. Agreed. What you do need is to find somebody who is an expert in the area that you're moving into. You know, somebody who has never been where you are and need to go to can't take you there. So it's not something you want to do in isolation. Isolation is where you prepare your mindsets to be able to move into that area, but you need people. We need people. That's why God created us to be social beings. So you need to find somebody who's an expert in that area that you're heading into and figure out how they can mentor you to get you where you need to be. It's all about your network. So you might be talking to me as a chartered accountant, and I have no idea, you know, what your specialty is or where your heart is. But through your network, there might be somebody in my network I could introduce you to who would help you with your mission. So, and that applies to all of us here. We're not in competition with each other. When we work together, it creates a trajectory for all of us. So to you, Tony, I would say, you know, maybe reach out. I'll take a look at the invitation and you know, accept it and see what we can do. But it's all about finding a mentor in that area that you are looking to enter into. Now, the network that we have here can aid that, because if I know somebody in that area, I can say, hey, Tony is somebody who needs to get into this area. It's your area. We're in the network. Let's work it. So don't try to solve the problem yourself. It's good that you spoke up. Now that we know what the issue is, maybe we can have a chat on LinkedIn. I don't know. Let's see how we can help you achieve your mission. That's why we have this. That's why we have the group, to help each other. All right. So it's not something you carry yourself. You need somebody to lead the way to help you get there. All right. Does that answer your question?
Very much. Please accept my invite. Yes.
All right. Thank you. I see a long question in the chat. Abraham. Do we want to read that out?
Go ahead. Okay.
My question is on pursuing one's assignment. Sometimes we have an idea of the assignment, but due to the bad state of things, unemployment, we tend to go in another direction to meet our needs. There's a mantra going on presently among youths, at least the few I know, that you don't have to like what you do. Just make sure you're getting enough money to make you happy. That is true. All right, I'll give you experience. At stages like this, what can I do? You are correct in saying that, you know, sometimes you have to do other stuff on your way to purpose. So things don't just drop. Somebody's trying to get in. I'm going to admit them and hope it's okay. Things don't just drop into your lap. Sometimes you have to do what you don't want to do, because in your doing that, it will get you to your destination. Let me give you a typical biblical example. I can even use one from my own life, but think about Ruth. Ruth in the Bible, I'm a Bible girl, so please forgive me. There's some principles in there that help you with life on all fronts. So Ruth is somebody who was Naomi's daughter-in-law. She loses her husband. She stays with her mother-in-law, and then she starts gleaning in a field of someone who was her husband's kinsman. She started gleaning in a field, picking up leftovers in a field. I'm very sure that was not Ruth's intention of where life was taking her, but she did it. She was gleaning in a field so that she could get something to eat, to support herself and her mother-in-law. Where did Ruth end up after gleaning in the field? She became the wife of the guy who owned the field. He would never have seen her if she did not start gleaning on the field. Now, there are other characteristics. She was very diligent in the way she did her work. And as a result of that, he noticed her and he told the people that were watching his farm to say, make sure that she only gleans on my field. If she needs water to drink, let her drink from a special place. So sometimes when you're doing what you don't like to do, remember, you need to think about purpose. Do it with the intention of getting to where you need to go to. You know, I didn't just drop into head of accounting one day. I started with, I started working in McDonald's. Let me tell you guys that now, because, people don't talk about their humble beginnings. To date, McDonald's was the best job I ever had. They didn't pay a lot at the time, but it was the best job I ever had. Why? Because the camaraderie amongst us young people that were working together was second to none. In the corporate world, everybody is trying to tear at each other to be, the boss's best. But in McDonald's, everybody worked collectively together for a common goal. So there was no rivalry. So if you find yourself having to do what you really don't want to do, as long as it's legal, I didn't say do something illegal because you need to eat and then, do whatever you need to do legally on the way to where you were going. And if God is God, he will honor you. He will see your heart and make a way for you. So do not despair when you're in a place that is not what you intended. It's usually being preparation time. You're being prepared for something. And there are lessons you would learn in that place. You say, it's not what I really want. All right? So do not despise the day of small things is the message.
Wow.
I see hands up. I don't know who came first. Femi, are you moderating or do I just?
I'm here. Jonathan came first.
Okay, Jonathan? Jonathan, do you want to ask a question? Your hands are raised.
Yes, I really appreciate all you have shared this webinar. So grateful, Ma.
Thank you.
My question is about the fact that have you always had it in mind to? Did you always know that it was finance you were supposed to be in?
I laugh. Let me give you a brief story. So when I was age 7, I had this night dress that my mother had bought me, or my dad, I can't remember who. And on it, it said, when I grow up, I want to be a nurse. I was never a science student. I was good at my sciences. So I think I did biology in school, chemistry and physics in summer school. But then I think at age 7, I had an aunt who came in from Kaduna to live with us in Port Harcourt, down south, to do her youth service. And she was an accountant. And, when I saw her lifestyle, I saw her independence. I saw how she carried herself. She was quite intellectual. I just said, I'm going to become an accountant. I couldn't even spell the thing. I didn't know what it entailed. I just decided I was going to become an accountant. So I was good at math. I was good at the sciences. But, all these dissecting, those days you had to dissect. I was not interested. I'm like, why are you destroying the animal? It wasn't me. So, Naira and Kobo was I don't even know if we have Kobo these days. But, Naira and Kobo was what I knew. So at age 7, I decided to become an accountant, even though I didn't know what it entailed. And from 7, I got into secondary school. By Form 2, I took accounting. Because I had decided I was going to become an accountant, I didn't really pay attention to physics, chemistry, and all of that. It was math, it was accounting, history, geography, you had to do one. So I took geography. I say history is past. We can't change anything. Move forward. I took geography. French, I said, I'm not going to become a secretary. I'm not doing French. So, I was very targeted in the subjects I chose because I decided to become an accountant, even though I didn't know what it entailed. So I think this is purposeful. I didn't really, and I chased down that route and it worked out. And, even today, when I say, okay, I want to move away from an accountant, being an accountant and do other things, it still knocks on my door and I do it in my sleep. So it comes very naturally to me. All right. So, to answer your question, I had a focus and I stayed with it. I didn't digress to the left or to the right. And back in those days, we were called Naira and Copper students. There were only about 8 of us in that commercial class because everybody was like, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a doctor, all the fancy stuff. And we were, just the finance students. To date, I think all of us did pretty well. And even the science students became finance people later. So, that's my story. That's how I became an accountant. I had an aunt that came, I liked her lifestyle, I liked her independence, and I followed it.
Wow.
Yeah, just that simple. All right. Does that answer your question?
Okay?
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, you answered the question pretty well. The other thing I went to have asked, did you at any point feel tempted to leave that line in your career?
Okay, the one thing you would know about me is I'm a very determined person. When I set my mind to something, there's no left or right. I sleep it, I dream it, I do everything it. I don't digress. You could call me very loyal. So if I'm in your camp and I say to you, do or die, you've got somebody for life. So I was never tempted to digress into anything else because, life is short. And in your digressing, you might waste time. What I will say though, in my 50s is that, I do have a passion for architecture. So that is one of my passions. And, I've built 2, I've designed and I've done all that, but they were hobbies. And now people say to me, well, Michelle, you're really good at this thing. Why don't you make it a business? Why don't you do that? So my backbone is finance and accounting. I do that in my sleep. Now I can start digressing into architecture and all of that. One of the things we're finding now is, 3D construction printing, which I want to bring into Nigeria. Because when I constantly hear of, buildings collapsing and people dying, I'm like, in 2022, why? And if you go back to basics, it's because somebody was greedy. Somebody was not being his brother's keeper. He decided to cut corners, to build something, and then suddenly everybody suffers. So when we go back to basics and say, okay, be my brother's keeper, then you wouldn't cut corners. These days, people don't even want to do manual labor, but we need housing. Affordable housing is a problem. So how do we solve it? So that's one of the things I'm looking at now, but I still have accounting in my backbone. I didn't throw that away. And then, encouraging you guys is something else that I do, so yeah. There you go. I didn't digress. I'm adding to, but I'm not taking away from it. All right. Next question. Okay. Okay. Paul is a guy, so I'm going to let Rhoda go first. I'm going to go ladies first. I'm traditional. Please forgive me. Rhoda, do you want to ask a question?
Yes. Good evening, Ma.
Good evening.
Thank you for this section.
You're most welcome.
So I would like to ask about what was it like moving to a different location that had a different language? Because moving to whether it's across country, within the same country, language is always a very vital thing. Although when you were speaking, you did mention that you spoke a little, but it wasn't, I won't say it's enough to fully function, considering you had really nobody so close around to help. So what would you say concerning that?
Okay, changing locations is not for the faint-hearted. Let's get that right, okay? So I'll be direct. You can get into a location. If you are not sent, let's put it that way. If you are not sent, you will not survive. All right? So I said in my presentation that there is provision in the place of assignment. So in spite of the language barrier, there's language, there's also culture. let's put it in perspective. So, you can move into a country where the way they do, like in Germany, people don't smile. People are raised to be in silos. Even the children, when I grew up in London, the children played on the streets together. It was normal for people to knock on the door and, the kids would play. Today in London, you don't let your kids play on the street because you have pedophiles that would snatch the kid and they're disappeared. In this part of the world, the children just play with them by themselves in the backyard. In Switzerland, you could find an 8-year-old boy sitting by the river fishing with a fishing rod all by himself. They are trained to work in isolation just by themselves. It's not healthy. That was not the original intention when God created man, all right? So what I have to tell you is it's not easy. You will have to do your part in terms of going into language classes, and you will have to have a determination in your head that, I need to learn the language, I need to integrate, I need to function, and you do it. You don't look left or you don't look right. I'm more of a left brain person than I am a right person. So languages were never my forte, but I do enough to get by. And even in the workplace, when people ask me, do you speak German? I tell them, no, I do. And I can write German too. But, can I have an argument in German? Of course not. I can argue very well in English and Pidgin English. I don't think I can even argue very well in Yoruba. But, you do what you need to do to hit your targets. So if you move to a different country, don't go and stay only Nigerians, sir. Don't go into only where Nigerians are. That's one of the things I see, Black people do. We stay in our same community. We all go to Black churches. We all go, we don't integrate. We don't open up our minds. So if you move to a different environment, number one, change the way you think, change your garment. That was one of the secrets. Open your mind to the new environment. Don't change your core where you totally lose yourself. The new in thing now is that, Blacks are bleaching. If you knew what God was thinking when he gave you black skin, you would not mess with it. But, these days we're saying lighter is better. And people in this part of the world are having serious cancer because they don't have melanin. So, I digress. The message is, if you move to a different country, it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to put your foot down and try to integrate. Go into language classes. Try and mix with the community. Yes, in this part of the world, they're not usually as embracive as we Africans are to foreigners, but don't let that discourage you. You do the necessary to hit your goal. Remember, your eye is on the goal. What is my focus? You face front. Achieve that goal and move on. Okay? So moving countries is not easy. You do the necessary to get you where you need to go. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Super.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Olaoluwa, Paul.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
So I have two questions.
Go ahead.
The first question is, when you talk about isolation, I think one thing that stands out to me is the problem of being misunderstood by people around you. Mm-hmm. Because since even if you're physically isolated, existentially, you can't be isolated. You have family, as it were. So how does one undo those interactions when you're going through the isolation and when they most probably can't understand and would not be able to understand what is going on? So that's the first question. And
okay, let me take that one. Your period of isolation does not mean you become a hermit. Okay, so isolation just means that you're secluded to the point where you take time to analyze things for yourself before you and your God. So you lose all the noise. If you're in a party and they're making a lot of noise, you can't necessarily hear conversation. So when I talk about isolation, I'm not saying lock yourself up in a hut for 4 years and figure out what's going to go on. No. That period of isolation means that you seclude yourself, you stay in the quiet of yourself, trying to analyze what is it I'm supposed to do in this season. It means that you still go out into the workplace. It still means that you go to the supermarket, you go to the park, you interact with people, but you do carve out time to know who you are. In the book I recommended on Tamar, she went into isolation. Just to give you a brief synopsis, for those of you who don't know the story. She was the daughter-in-law of Judah, the brother of Joseph. She was married to Judah's first son, Onan, and his and his second son, Onan, and both sons died. Now, by Jewish custom, when a husband dies, you're supposed to be replaced by, the brother will take over because he needs to continue the line of his brother. But those two husbands, the Bible says they did what was evil in the eyes of the Lord, and eventually the Lord took them out. So, there was a third son that should have been married to Tamar, but Judah, the father, was like, two of my sons have died at this woman's hands. Maybe she's a witch. I'm not sending my third son to her. Let her go. So at some point, he sent her back to her father's house. That was her place of isolation. So she wasn't there sitting in her room having a pity party. She got up to work. When they woke up to do things in the morning, she got up to do things. She worked, she woke, she slept, she carried on with life in that place of isolation. So when I say isolation, you're not locking yourself up somewhere. You're using that time to prepare yourself for your next move. And if you all know the story, at some point, somebody in the community came to Tamar and said to her, your father-in-law is going to Timnah. And, if she was depressed and miserable, nobody in the village would have come to her to tell her that story. So when she heard that, she took that information as relevant information, and then she disguised herself as a prostitute and presented herself to Judah because information made her know that when he goes to Timnah, he goes to prostitutes. So she disguised herself as one, she changed her clothes, changed her whole outlook, and met this father-in-law who was supposed to marry her under the Levitan law, but he didn't. And he left her in isolation. So she couldn't marry anybody else and he wouldn't marry her. So she had no children. So when she got that information, she goes out to Timnah, she meets with him. He didn't know it was her because she had changed her garments. Now, in that her period of isolation, she was able to rationalize, okay, this is what this guy, so she didn't go to her father's house and cry. She kept on watching what Judah was doing because he was the one to redeem her. She was planning her strategy in that time of isolation. If you read the book I recommended, it will give you perspective. So I do recommend you take a look at that book, and it will help you elaborate on that question. Does that help you?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next question.
The second question is, when you're dealing with, when you're talking about purpose, and then you're dealing with things in the space of new and emerging economies or technologies, and the thing of finding mentors, as it were, because most people don't even understand the technology or the way the entire thing works. So how do you recommend one navigate such?
Network. Technology is an aid and it's also a vice, So, you have to find a way to use it for your benefit. Even me, where I sit with all of my connections, there's some areas I want to go into that I need people that are not currently in my work to be in that network. So if you want to be able to get to where you need to go, you need to grow your network. We're all meeting in this space here. I would hope that, it's not just the meet here, have this discussion and we go away, that we really bond with each other. And Femi, I don't know how we do that, but we need to present a forum where people can find a place where they have a home. They can come talk to people like us with access. So network is what I would say. And use social media in a way. I'm not a social media person. I'm not very good at it, so I fail. I can do the necessary, but you blast in videos and all of that to sell. It's not my personality. Sorry. Maybe one day I will cross that bridge. But it's all about your network. The skills I don't have, somebody else has, and together we build. Does that help you?
Yes, thank you very much.
All right.
Great.
Rhoda, are you still asking a question? Your hands are up. How do I get the book? The book is available on Amazon. So, I'm out here in Germany and I ordered it via Amazon. If you're in Nigeria, I think you can get it from Roving Heights, Lagos. Okay. So
okay,
Roving Heights in Lagos. I think they have an Instagram page.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
it's like Rhoda puts. Rhoda, you're no longer asking your question. You're okay. Okay.
Any
There's
other questions? Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Okay.
Good. I think my job is done, hopefully.
Let us unmute ourselves and then clap for me. I want you to do that. Just unmute yourself and clap.
Thank you, Mitchell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
the
We are
session.
very grateful. We
Thank you.
appreciate you,
It's so
Thank you,
enriching,
ma'am.
ma'am.
I'm very grateful. Thank you very
Can I
much,
ask a
ma'am.
question on behalf of African Young Brain, Michelle?
Wait.
Let's go ahead. Hello.
Who's asking?
I said, can I ask a question?
Sure, you can. Of course, you can. Go on then.
Good. We would like to specially invite you to the board as a mentor of African Young Brain so that we have access to you. Are you all people saying yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Just type yes to the chat box.
Yes.
We are speaking our minds, sir.
You spoke our mind, sir. Yes, we need you on board.
Good, good. So, Michelle, at the back end, we'll talk and then we'll be able to, so that they can go to website, they will see your picture there and then they have access to you. We don't block our mentors. We make sure that we give the very best and we create opportunity. And who knows, probably Michelle will host us in Germany in the next 1 or 2 years and say, okay, African Young Brain, all of you just come. I look up to an avenue where we will have many people having access to our mentor anywhere in the world. So on behalf of African Young Brains, I appreciate you. And let me share my own.
Adebayo, could you mute, please? Thank you.
Let me quickly share my own experience with people so that they can learn from it. I chatted with Michelle about 1 or 2 things concerning my need, and she said, "Oh, good." And within, I don't think it's okay. She sent a contact to me, and we spoke and spoke and spoke, and the door opened. So I want to encourage every one of you listening to me, and those of you that you have attended this program, these events, please, here is a golden opportunity. Don't misuse it. And I know that you will not misuse it. So once again, Michelle, I appreciate you. We appreciate time that you have spent with us. We cannot pay you back. But one thing I can assure you is that in the next 5, 10, 15 years, you see somebody, I attended African Young Brain events and you spoke and my life was changed. My direction changed. And see me, I'm now on the top. And you say, wow, I thank you once again. I appreciate you. And for every one of you that you are here listening to us, here is African Young Brain. If you are joining us for the very first time, we started 2019. Our first event was at University of Ibadan Conference Center. It was physical. We are looking up to planning and getting things together so that we can have physical events. And I'm happy that you are here with us this evening. Please, tomorrow we are going ahead with Siat. She will be here from Dubai. She will be here live from Dubai, and she's a life coach. Don't miss that tomorrow, 6:30 p.m., same time. And I want Confidence. Are you there? Confidence?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, good. I want you to also join me to appreciate Michelle.
Oh, thank you very, very much, Ma. It's an honor to have you. And thank you for, while your session was going on, I was like, this is unrestrained. Like your sharing was total and thorough and deep and really insightful, impactful, and enlightening. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm grateful. It's a pleasure and honor for me to be here. This is me giving back. I'm a product of Nigeria. So I know that the country is not what it used to be, but together we can get it there. And if I can do that from where I am here, you know, I'm transitioning back home somehow. Then and hopefully we can get to meet each other because, you know, the country made me who I am. You know, the skills that I have today, I got out of Nigeria. You know, I got into England and I thought, Nigeria has teachers. They were nothing. The teachers in the UK were nothing compared to the teachers we had in Nigeria. So when I hear that these teachers are not being paid what they should, it breaks my heart because these people give their lives and souls into us. And so for me, it is me giving back to you guys as best I can. And if there are any finance people here that, you know, need help in that respect, you know, Femi, I don't know if we can create a platform where we can use our expertise to help people out. But I know that ASU is out. For those who are in finance and need, you know, insights into, you know, IFRS accounting and stuff, we're here to help you out. So this is the main reason why I joined this, to be able to reach out to you guys who are potentially in a tight spot because of where the country is. We can step in to help you attain your goals. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Mom. Looking forward to connecting with you.
I want Eskaya to Eskaya, you are here, right? Eskaya, you are here?
Yes, please.
Good, great. Eskaya is in the US. I want you to drop our WhatsApp contact on the chat box. I hope you do that so that they can join all our media. We are on Twitter, we are on Instagram, so that people can connect with us. And we want them also to join our WhatsApp group. So we have WhatsApp group. We're almost 500 on our WhatsApp group. Don't mind the challenge of data. That's why you don't have many people here. They want us to do most of our events on WhatsApp group, but we felt, okay, we have gone beyond that. So we have people on our WhatsApp group. So you can join our WhatsApp group, and then from there we can take it up. What mean I'm asking every one of us to be here tomorrow and invite your friend. Tomorrow is going to be explosive. I'm very, very sure. You can see what we got from Mitchell today. I'm telling you, tomorrow will be the final. And this event is every month. We are bringing 1 or 2 guest speakers every month to share their experience with us. I believe that at the end of 2022, you must have nothing, minimum of 5 mentors you must have added to your network. So on behalf of African Young Brain, once again, I appreciate Michelle, and I appreciate every one of you, and I say bye-bye to everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Please don't forget, tomorrow, we want to see you.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We also appreciate you, sir, the host. Thank you for the session, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Israel Adelaja.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this.
Thank you very much. Good night, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you, my good
I
night.
told you from the US. I cite you. I want to hear your voice. So.
Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Really blessed.
Yes, I can do now.
Thank
Pastor
you,
Daniel Bangoyan. We want to see you tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Adeju Moture, Engineer Adebayo. We appreciate you. Check check the chat box for the WhatsApp group. Don't let us forget tomorrow, 6:30. Back.